Have you ever received a postcard from Buenos Aires? If so, there's a good chance it showed La Boca, literally its most colorful neighborhood, lying on the Riachuelo, the little river, which empties into the Rio de la Plata. This working-class barrio, or neighborhood, populated mostly by the descendants of Italian immigrants, grew up around what was once the capital's main port. New, bigger ports were built a long time ago somewhere else. Rusting hulks and dredges lie idle in the smelly waters, and yet tourists, as well as porteños, as inhabitants of Buenos Aires call themselves, throng to the waterfront and adjacent streets. La Boca is the area that has retained its original character. Museums, galleries, and souvenir stores have sprung up there, but a ghost from the bygone era, when tango was being born, would recognize it at first glance. For tango devotees, there is no better place to see it and listen to it than Buenos Aires, and there, in La Boca, one of the barrios claiming to be its birthplace, they will be able to marvel at it almost any single day of the week, in the old restaurants and on this famous walkway called Caminito. Tango shows are obviously pre-arranged and well-organized, but they may also happen on the spur of the moment. Caminito has been the heart of tourists' La Boca for many years. The name comes from a 1926 tango. It's an informal, open-air museum, a place to stroll, to buy a painting by a local artist or a small souvenir, and to be seized with a longing for the good old days. But have there ever been good days for poor immigrants? La Boca was the center for meat exports in the 19th century. Later, industrial plants and high-rise buildings popped up around the area, but basically it remained what it was in the beginning, the poor, hard-working people's neighborhood, permeated with nostalgia. They have their joys and passions, though. They love music, they love soccer, and they are proud of their team, Club Atlético Boca Juniors. And like many other Argentines, they worship Diego Maradona, who at one time wore their team's uniform. The blue and yellow colors of the Boca Juniors shirts brighten up their homes, many of which are built out of scrap materials. It seems it's still too early for a crowd, or it is nicer outside. Weekday evenings, when there are not too many tourists, are a good time to check out La Boca's natives. I heard about La Boca before my first stay in Buenos Aires. I read about it and saw it in many photos. It is as I had imagined it. So, what about the rest of the city? Will it be the same as the picture I have in my mind? I was asking myself on the way back to my hotel. But it is never the same, except for places like Venice or La Boca, where history outlived all the changes. I remember. It was one of my first days there, after my visit to La Boca. I found myself on Plaza San Martin, in the Retiro district, where I stayed in a cheap hotel on one of its narrower streets. I was looking around me with great pleasure, surprised at the city's grandeur. I was in its very center, and yet it was pleasant and relatively quiet. But I love big cities' hubbub, and I found it a few meters away, on Calle Florida. This pedestrian street, stretched between Plaza San Martin and, well, almost Plaza de Mayo, soon became one of my homes on the Rio de la Plata's bank. I ate there, drank coffee, listened to music, read newspapers, mingled with the crowd, engaged in conversations with strangers, tried to resist shopping with some success, and managed to put off returning to the comforts of my less than modest hotel until the late hours. And there is tango, too. I wasn't crazy about it before I came, but when I saw it there, I fell in love with the tango. It was once considered vulgar and inappropriate by the capital's upper classes. It was the gauchos' music and dance, influenced by African rhythms and soon Italianized. It was danced in dens and bordellos of the poor, port barrios of Buenos Aires and Montevideo. The early lyrics were written in thieves' Latin called lunfardo. But many years ago, as it got more sophisticated, it conquered the world. There are tango schools and clubs in almost every country of Europe, North America, and Asia. And Astor Piazzolla's compositions are being played by big orchestras in concert halls around the world. Now I should explain why I'm pronouncing Plaza de Mayo, Plaza de Mayo, Calle Florida, Calle Florida, and so on. It's because that's the way the porteños do it. Y and double L is pronounced in most of Argentina as je. And this was my home within one of my homes, Galerías Pacifico. With each consecutive visit, I discovered its charms, its nooks and corners. Under its sheltering sky, domes rather, I could refresh myself and find refuge from the rain. Back to Florida, to the end of the street. And then, well, all right, to the left, looking sideways, peering up at architectural details. And all of a sudden I was standing in front of Casa Rosada, the presidential palace, on Plaza de Mayo. Naturally, this place was in my plans, but I found myself there by a fluke. In the distance, on the other end of Avenida de Mayo, is the Congreso, Argentina's parliament. A bit to the left, Simón Bolívar's monument. To the right, the obelisco on the Plaza de la República. Cabildo, the old colonial town council, the Metropolitan Cathedral, and old stately buildings. The important part of Buenos Aires, with its monuments, was within my vision. Each day my list of places to be seen again grew.